All right. Well, can everybody, I'm going to try to show things out. It's going to be pretty informal. So if I haven't explained well enough, please catch my attention and we can talk about something more. I'm going to try to keep it moving. I typically run out of time before I run out of my stuff. And when I get to talking, that's when I really get in trouble. So I love the idea that they included teacher workshops with this big equip workshop, because honestly, I don't feel like we have these very much anymore. And I just love to get together with my people, you people that love preschoolers as much as I do, because the ideas that we can get from each other is so important. But more than that, we get recharged, don't you think? I mean, just seeing what somebody else is doing gets you out of your doldrums a little bit, kind of charges you up and gets you excited to get in the classroom. Because, I mean, I'd love to say we all are at our top every time we walk in a classroom, but I'm afraid that's not true. There are times when we go in there and just simply are happy if we've survived the class hour. Yes. But I want to get beyond just surviving. I mean, I think we owe it to our kids to get beyond surviving. We are not time fillers. We are not puzzle pushers. We are not those people who give the parents time to go and have a really nice adult class without the problem of dealing with their kids. We're teachers. And if we're teachers, that implies we've got learners. With preschoolers, sometimes that's a little harder to tell if they've learned anything in class. But when you have that parent come up to you, we were just talking, when you have that parent come up to you and say, my child was talking about this and this and this, what did you learn about in class? Because you know they've got something. And by the time they come in, at Bear Valley we have, our kids come into the preschool area when they're 2. They barely can talk. I barely can understand them. And I feel so bad about it, but I have friends say, I don't think their parents can understand them either, so don't feel bad about that. So it made me feel better. But they go from little ones who barely can talk to kids who are amazing on what they can tell you that they have learned in your Bible class. So we all know what 2 Timothy 3:16 and 17 says. All scripture is inspired of God. We know that part, but do you know what comes before that? In verse 14 and 15 it says, but you must continue in the things you have learned and been assured of, knowing from whom you learned them, and that from childhood you have known the Holy Scriptures, which are able to make you wise for salvation through faith, which is in Christ Jesus. This was of course, talking about Timothy and those people who had a great influence on his life. I don't know if he went to Bible class, but I know he was taught the Bible, or he was taught God's Word. So that's our mission, is to take that Word and write it in their heart. And you all know, first of all, let me figure out what's going on here. Is anybody, I know we've got a big time veterans up here, is anybody just a novice? Somebody who's just dipping their toe in? Are you? Have you taught it all, or are you just seeing if you want to teach preschoolers?
Just letting them repeat the songs, because I don't really know how to teach 2 years old below. Mine is 17 months, 2 of them, so I said that, don't.
Oh, that's great.
Thank God for you.
Exactly.
It's going to take over for us.
Yes, that is fabulous. How about our rookies under 2 years of teaching? Okay. So everybody else is veterans?
I'm pretty good.
I say it's been 40 years for me. It's been at least 38 years very regular teaching in the preschool, but I've taught other ages, and that started when I was a teenager. So I could say, I mean, I'm sure I look like I started when I was 5 teaching, but not the case. But anyway, you learn things over the years, of course, and a lot of what I've collected are things that I started with years and years and years ago. So it doesn't happen all at once, but especially if you're just getting started, you wanna build your repertoire of things that you can use and use in multiple areas. Anyhow, you guys are you gonna be able to see the PowerPoint? Normally I drag all my stuff out and it's just clear across and I just go down. I couldn't obviously do it. I fit all this stuff in 2 suitcases to make it down here. So I did really good in what I could fit. But I'm gonna have to go back and forth between the PowerPoint and my stuff. I'm not really that good about it. But we know preschoolers are little sponges, aren't they? They are so capable. When you think about the fact that they haven't been on this earth very long, they are learning so much every single day. And we get the privilege of working with them during those really formative years where they're soaking it all up. And of course, it's not just up to us. Honestly, their parents have far more responsibility to raise them in the Lord, but we get to partner with the parents. And I think, at least in my experience, I have expected more from their children than what they do. And so I think our partnership is just encouraging the parents that your kid is capable of so much more than you think they are. And so that's part of it. We're teaching the kids, but we're also encouraging the parents. So our preschoolers are little sponges, and we get them at that special time of life. Whoops. I think I'm a little, okay, didn't change. I'm a little fast on my trigger. I don't think it's going, and then it does go. In our classes, we want the spotlight to be on the Bible. That's clearly where we are. You can play games, you can have them work puzzles, you can do all those things, but your time needs to be spent in the Bible. That's what, you don't have that much time with them. Do you guys have 45-minute classes or hour classes? 45-minute classes. But when you think about it, if they're coming Sunday morning, Wednesday night, over a whole year, you have over 70, maybe almost 80 hours with those kids. If you haven't planned, you have wasted 80 hours of their time and your time. So think about it that way. You can work a lot into it. But it's going to require the Bible to be first in your life too. It's so easy because on these little people's level, you have to keep it very basic, very, very simple. But as a teacher, it's tempting to kind of pass that up, see what your lesson's supposed to be, then go on, get your handwork all ready, figure out what your visual's going to be, do all that, do all the busy stuff. The important thing is that you study it as an adult. You get into that word. If you want to explain it simply, you have to know it deeply. And the thing is, if you don't love being in the Word, you shouldn't be in the classroom because they're going to know whether you love being in that Word. And you want them to get to that point where they love being in the Word. We have a responsibility, I think, to make our classes be something that kids are excited to come to. I think about my grandkids. I'm forever thinking, I want to be that teacher that I'd like my little granddaughter to go into. I want to excel in what I'm doing because they deserve that. And so get that motivation. Sometimes it's hard week after week to do it. If you're a little bit drug out and you're feeling a little worn out, that's not what our kids deserve. So you got to get in touch with your inner preschooler and figure out what's going to be exciting. And nowadays, that's easier than ever. There's so many resources online. I have a paper. We have papers.
Do you want me to hand them in?
You can. It's just a resource for later, so it's not anything important right now. I'm not going to really talk about things, but there are so many resources online that you can go to that I didn't even know some of these things existed. And you see it online and you're like, wow, I can do those things. And I'll show you some of that as we go along. So one of the main differences between coming into the preschool class and teaching the preschool class and being in, the older kids class, our preschool goes up to kindergarten. So some of the kindergartners are readers, but that's the biggest difference. You all know, if you've been in the classroom, they aren't readers. So you're going to have to do things in a completely different way than what she's doing in that classroom because they aren't readers. But, of course, I've got sight words that they can learn. So these are sandpaper letters and they can trace them with their fingers. So I have Bible, God, Jesus. I have very few words in my classroom. If I have words, a lot of times it's for their parents' sake. Because I want parents to come in. But yeah, I think the kids can learn some sight words and it's good. But with their little fingers that can trace it because it's sandpaper. It's sandpaper. It's sandpaper that I just spray painted. And this is an ugly spray paint that I just have that color at home. But you can have prettier colors if you want to. But it's spray paint. It's really easy.
Okay.
So we learn the books of the Bible in our class. Oh, here's my big Bible. I want to preface this class by saying I don't have the educational credentials. I was a dental hygienist, so I did dental education for 36 years of my life. But I don't have any early childhood education. But I've learned a lot through all those years that I've been in the classroom. Can you see from where you're at? Do you want to scooch somewhere? Anyway, this is my big Bible. As I said, I want the focus to be on the Bible. Of course, it's the knowledge of the Bible that's most important. But I have this big Bible, and it is from these ladies. Have you all been aware of this? It's a World Video Bible School, and this is April Meacham and Tia McWhorter. They did a workshop that is recorded, and it's all ages, so there's all kinds of stuff that doesn't apply to me, but these women are a vast array of knowledge. And she made a big Bible that she used. Most of the things that I have done, I stole from somebody else. You teachers know that's what you're supposed to do, right? You steal from somebody else because you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I lots of times will tweak it and make it a little bit better than what I think better for me than what I thought they did. So that I got this from them. But in my big Bible, you can see I've got my sight word up there, the Bible. On the spine, I have 66. You open it up and you have the 39 old, 27 new, and then I have these books inside. So when I have a lesson in Luke or John, I'll set these out: Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You can also, if you're learning the books of the Bible, put some Velcro. I have Velcro because I have carpet in my room. In here, I would put duct tape, and you can do on like little hop steps coming in the room, and they can hop in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They love the hopping part, but their little bodies moving also helps their brain to learn. So that's what's in those pockets. those pockets are just made of clear lamination paper. That's like the extra paper when I laminated something, and it works really well. Then I turn it sideways, so you can see this is open this way, and then I turn it this way, and this is a magnet board that fits. Not perfect in this. These were frame boxes that's where I went, oh, that's better than what they said. So anyway, I just turned my box where that's the stand and that's the back. And this is Rebecca and Isaac story. But this was a teacher paid teacher lesson that I bought. Those are really inexpensive. You just download them, and I enlarged it. They don't usually come across that large, but that's on your resource page. The teacher pays teacher. I just plug in what lesson I want to find, and oftentimes you'll find it. It takes you off into I want to say Pinterest. What's the other page that people sell stuff on? Etsy. Yeah, it often will take you to their Etsy page. But that's very good. And then you could also have in the pocket, you could enlarge your books. These are just purchased things that I just wrote. I mean, I didn't do anything super fancy. I just wrote the names. And then I enlarged it, and now I can use this as my review. So I've got my Genesis lesson on creation, and then of course Adam and Eve. And these are from freebibleimages.org. Does everybody know that one? Yeah, that's one to start. freebibleimages.org. That's on the resource page. I will say that's a go-to one. You can get all kinds of great illustrations from that. Then we learn a lot of facts. The kids are very, very concrete thinkers, and their little brains can soak up facts. And so this is the time to really teach them all that stuff. So this is just a purchased Bible picture. And what is the Bible? It's God's Word. And then how many big parts do the Bible? 2, Old Testament, New Testament. And then you do what does the word Bible mean? It means books. And then you do the 66 books, 39 books in the Old Testament, 27 in the New. I have 40 writers, and we talk about how we're not positive it's 40, but it's really close to 40 writers that God spoke to men and they wrote it down. So this is just a fact thing, and to do it repeatedly, they learn those things. If you're talking about inspiration, we all know it's God-breathed. Well, that's a really hard concept for kids. Kind of hard for adults to figure out. But if I take my balloon, I used to try to make a picture of a person on this. It's just a mess. Even if you use permanent marker, it's a mess. So I just use a balloon and I say, God breathed. What God breathed into man, the exact same thing that God breathed came out onto the paper. They don't have to know it wasn't paper, but it is God's exact words that came out. And that at least helps their little brains to figure that out. Grab a chair. Join with me. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Everything the Bible says is absolutely true. Let's go. Turtle slow. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Everything the Bible says is absolutely true. How about Bunny Rabbit Fast? Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Everything the Bible says is absolutely true. You do those things often enough and repeatedly enough, they get it. They can tell you it's absolutely true. Honestly, a 2-year-old doesn't know what absolutely means, but they figure it out after a bit. So, this is my treasure box. Honestly, this was the one thing I really, really wanted to bring. It's ridiculous, but I grabbed one of your Bibles out of the auditorium, and that's about the size of our classroom Bibles. By the way, we encourage everybody, even from age 2, to bring their own Bibles. Every single lesson I do, we are going to turn to the scripture. And when you think about it, if you turn to, I want to study about Samson in the Judges. So what are they figuring out? They don't know what Judges looks like as far as a word, but they're figuring out Judges is kind of at the beginning instead of kind of at the end. They get a spatial idea of where it is in the Bible. You know, it seems pointless to have little ones try to turn to that, but they're getting the idea it's not my stuff. It's not my words. It's God talking to us. So, anyway, you can see my treasure box, and in relation to the Bible, maybe this Bible is a little bigger. This is from Oriental Trader, and I use my treasure box. Always, this is the greatest treasure we have. It's God talking to us. And I'll start out always with the Bible in the treasure box every time we talk about the treasure that it is, and then I'll have something that will introduce the lesson, some kind of item, maybe a present. Have you ever got a present? You talk about presents, and then Samuel's mom brings him a coat every week or something. You know, something that just kind of gets him going on the lesson. I don't know. There's all kinds of things I can do with the treasure box, but we also talk about how we take care of our treasures. We're so careful with the Bible. This is a flip chart about caring for the Bible. Has anybody seen this one? These we pretend. Of course, we can't talk to Bibles, and Bibles can't talk back to us with their voices. But what if we asked them if they wanted to go to church? And this Bible does not want to go to church. He's so nervous because his owner hardly ever takes him, and when he takes him, he feels so out of place. Why would I want to go to church? And this one, he hasn't been open all week, and then he takes him to church and the light just hurts his eyes. And this one's got allergies because dust just builds up every day. And this one, believe it or not, was a new Bible, but he got smashed across his friend's head, and things started falling apart. And this one went skidding along the floor, and this one, you know, the whole thing has narrative. I'm happy if I'll give you my email address at some point before the end, but I'm happy to send you these kinds of things if you want, because I didn't bring patterns with me. But anything you want, just ask me and give me a little bit of time to do it. They love drama, so the Bible, I love the Bible, it is God's Word. And then you have this ready, and you go, I will not color it. I will not color it. It is God's Word. And then cut it and tear it and crumple it. But it's very fun to get into a conversation with 4-year-olds about what you don't do with your Bible, because they come up with all kinds of things. You don't leave it in the rain, you don't leave it at a friend's house, and all kinds of things. So, and then I have, oh, I knew this was going to be bad. I need pockets and I don't have them. This is a box much like this, only big. Go thrifting. That one's a leather box. It was really perfect for a Bible. The top left one is, we talk about, does God write you a letter and say, I love you? This is a Valentine. Does he say, I love you and send you a letter? No, God doesn't talk to you that way. Does he call you on the phone? I need my phone. Does he call you on the phone? God never called me on the phone. Then this is an ear from Halloween. He probably is more Spock-like, but I turn it over. So these things they love, these little extra things like that. The computer, that's just an old iPad I have, but they're so attracted to technology. I always put something, does God ever put you on your computer? That's not how God talks to us. He talks to us in the Bible. Then dump all that stuff out and use your Bible for this next one where all the covers look very different, but the words inside are all the same, and they're all from our powerful God that made the whole wide world. So you can't ever get enough stuff about the Bible. I'm lucky in my room. This actually is a floor-to-ceiling painted Bible. And so each of those books, you can see the black books. The 3-year-old class does the first part of the Old Testament. So I pick up in Judges, and well, let me show you what. So this is an individual book, and we split Jonah into 2 lessons. So the first lesson is this big storm when he's trying to run away, and the second one is, of course, when he gets into big trouble in the big fish. So that's, you can always review that way. I usually don't put the little pictures in the pockets. Those are Avery pockets. They stick on. I think the whole back is a sticker, and then it's a plastic pocket. It's really great. So that's my big Bible. And that just more reinforcement about all these lessons that we're doing. It's not just coming from nowhere. It is coming from God's Word. We learn the books of the Old Testament. They start actually in the 2-year-old class with, I think they started the New Testament, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, because they're studying the New Testament in the life of Christ in the 2-year-old class. Starting in the 3-year-old class, they'll start learning, at least through Deuteronomy, at least the first 5 books, but I push them in the 4-year-old class to get all the way through. And I have thought about redoing this, and it will happen, but I didn't get it redone before I took my picture. But a wand is important, and then their turtles race, so Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and they go, I have a table set up underneath that bulletin board, and I kind of hold them while they're doing that. The only thing they have a hard time doing is 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles. They don't get that those are different books. So we have to just force them on. But they get to the end, and then we have Superstar award time. This is my Superstar prize. Everybody gets, and I have been doing this since way back. Kathy's daughter is a very grown-up girl now, and she got one of these. But the kids love them. So it's just a little plastic trophy that I bought at a party store. You got to put some lollipops or something in it, and a fun pencil. But it says Superstar. I know the books of the Old Testament. They love it. I had one little girl who kind of skipped my class. She moved on into the kindergarten class because she was more advanced and there were more friends. There were more kids up there, so we combined. So she skipped my class. She had 2 brothers go through my class, and she was terribly disappointed because of that. So we went ahead and let her race a turtle around before she moved on, and she got the trophy. It's that important. And she came in knowing the books because her 2 brothers had learned them when they were going through. And then always, it's easy to find certificates, Superstar, stickers, that kind of thing. But brag on them big. If you have something at church that is like a newsletter with just current fun, what's happening around the church information, include that your 4-year-old finished learning all the books of the Old Testament. Just anytime we can brag on them is important. Memory work. I don't have a memory verse for every single lesson ever. That's too much. That's just learning something for one class period and blah. We start out in the 2-year-old class learning, I think it's children obey, Ephesians 6:1-2, children obey your parents, and keep reviewing that each class. Each time they move up, they learn that as well as learning more. So of course they can't read. My theme in the classroom was kings, kids, because we talk about kings a lot and then we try to stress that Jesus is our king. So what I want you to really get, I don't expect everybody to do the king thing, but what I have found is really, really wonderful is somewhere in your classroom, enlarge pictures of your kids to put them up. It works really well on this because I do the crown and then they get their jewels as they say their memory verses. My crown is open-ended spots so they can put their jewels anywhere they want, and then I try to write in marker what they have. I will say you can use permanent marker, then just use Lysol spray, let it sit for a little bit, and it comes off. So, and that's permanent marker. You don't have to use something that smudges off a lot. This will get their parents in the classroom because the kids want to show their parents. And anytime their parents are in the classroom, I find something to brag on them. He's been so great about paying attention. He's been so wonderful about saying his memory work, whatever. That pumps those kids up and they want to come to class to please you. They love being bragged on. So you can't do anything that's going to be words up on the board. That's not going to be useful. So you have to find something. Do not let any unwholesome word come out of your mouth. Ephesians 4:29. Then I've got a mouth. This is a Dollar Tree mouth. They can't read these, but they can draw a card. I bet you 10-1 they're going to draw the end card. It's amazing. I don't know why. But this says, you can't play with me. Is that what kind of words we want in our mouth? No, throw those away. How about, I love God. We want those words in our mouth. So do anything you can illustrate a memory verse that they're not going to write words on. This is Psalm 122:1. I was glad when they said to me, let us go to the house of the Lord. This is a teacup box, I think, and I thought that's a perfect shape of a church building. So I found clip art that goes on, and everybody gets to drive their car to the church building. We make sure they know that's a church building. That's a church building. This is the church. So they love driving their cars. And even if we're not working on this memory verse, they get to drive their cars most often to the church building. Behold, children are a gift of the Lord. So we talked about this being a gift that you might put in the treasure box to introduce your story. But you know what the most important gift, the best gift ever that your mama had? And they love looking in the mirror. We have a little boy who has Down syndrome who looks in the mirror. Everybody waits until Mason gets to look in the mirror because he lights up. And everybody in the classroom smiles because Mason is amazing. But they all like to look in the mirror. Always the kids usually will not go home and tell their parents. The parents will say, would you learn in Bible class? And they will probably not be able to tell them anything. Even if you cue them before they walk out the door. When your parents say, what you learn, you say, this is what you say. And that is not what So I always make sure on any handwork I send home, I'm going to send home the lesson, what we have studied, the scripture. I will also, a good idea is to put out, outside the door, just have a laminated piece of paper. This is what we've learned today. You can send home, at the beginning of the quarter or whatever you guys use in your congregations, send home, this is the listing of what we're going to be studying. The thing is, then they can ask what? So did you learn about a strong man today? Ask the right questions, and that'll get the kids talking. They know way more than if a parent says, what'd you learn today? So, any questions, guys? Anything that you wondered about, or if I blew through too fast? All right. Let's see if I have covered. I think I've covered everything that I need for this week. So.
Except I teach the class today.
Make sure I've covered everything there.
Also, I get tired of one thing.
Using visual aids. So this is what it's all about. God has made people and little people to be audio-visual learners. Now He gave us 5 senses, and if we can use all those 5 senses to tell a story, they're going to soak more up. But our ears, what we hear is like 15% of what we remember, but what we can see is way beyond that, 70-something%. If we can see something, we learn a whole lot more. That's what we want. We want our kids, we want to use something that our kids can see. So that's where I'm going with all the visuals. But we have to remember the audio part too. If your voice sounds like it's a drab lesson, it will be a drab lesson no matter how fancy your visual aids are. And if your face doesn't match your lesson and the excitement you have, it also will be a drab lesson. So the kids are looking at your face to get cues, and they're listening to the excitement in your voice. Excitement and energy, that is contagious. And that's what's going to keep your kids engaged. They have, Hiram said yesterday that they've done a study that goldfish have a longer attention span than us. I know. I'm like,
That's no good.
that's no good because the kids are usually less than that. But they say 1 minute per year of age. So you got 2 minutes to really keep those 2-year-olds 2 minutes to keep your 2-year-olds' attention. But that doesn't mean we teach a lesson in 2 minutes and let them play the rest of the time. That means we change it. We go on to something different to tell the same thing. We're just doing it in different ways. So the audio is important about your excitement and your energy and your voice, and then visual aids, of course. I'm going to breeze through these because you guys know. But with your visual aids that you make sure they're colorful, have sense appeal. And so, like if you want to have food or something in your classroom to supplement what you're learning, I have learned nowadays you have to have some allergy checks. I have always a piece of paper that at the beginning of when I start teaching kids at the beginning of the quarter, does your child have any allergies? Is there something you want me to know about your child? What have you? Kids didn't used to have allergies that I ever knew about. Now everybody in the whole wide world has allergies. So that, and try it out. I was doing Mary anointing Jesus' feet and washing his feet with that perfume. I got Febreze because I thought that was going to be mellow. It was so stinky. I mean, the whole room was like we're choking. So try everything out before you actually use it in the room. Anyway, use all kinds of senses. You want it to attract attention. You want it to be durable. I will say durability is important. If you're making something, do it right and laminate it and protect it. There's so many times I have done something last minute. I remember coloring things in the lunchroom at work, trying to get my visual put together, and I kept it. I hung on to it, but every time I pulled it out, I'm like, why did I do it so poorly the first time? So until you remake it, and you don't want to have to remake everything. Reasonably neat, support the Bible-centered, objective, and suitable for the age I'm teaching. So those are just things to think of. So why use visuals? And I'm going to talk about these 4 different things to help prepare the child for the coming information. You want some Velcro that information is going to stick, because they don't have a lot of Velcro. They haven't been on the earth very long to have things really make sense and stick. Explain new terms or concepts. There are so many things, and they won't even ask you because they're used to learning new things all the time. They don't ask, well, what does that mean? I have my 4-year-old granddaughter FaceTime me a lot, and she wants to see the visuals I use lesson day. So we'll go over the lesson, and once in a while she's very, of course she's very, she's very advanced, but she will once in a while ask a question. I'm like, because she feels comfortable asking me. She's bright enough to know when to ask questions. And the kids in my classroom don't. And I'm just assuming they're getting it. And she'll ask me a pretty basic thing, and I'm like, I didn't explain that because I didn't think about it. But there are ways you can explain things through visuals. To make the word come to life, of course, that's the main thing. We want them to understand what's in this book. That it happened. It really did happen. And help the child see how the lesson applies in their life. As I said, they're very concrete thinkers. We at one time did Montessori, and they never pressed anything except facts. And they could learn lessons, they knew the stories, but I think that's missing out on something because, and we'll go into it, but you're missing out if you don't apply it to their lives. So help them prepare for the coming information. This is a mailbox that I have when they come into my classroom. And if the flag's up, they know something's in there. And they get to check in the mailbox. At this particular time, it was a fish. And so you can think of all kinds of things. It's a pretty good sized mailbox. So there's a lot of things that could go in there. But he pulled fish out and we talked about, have you ever gone fishing? Did you catch a fish? And all those kinds of things. He hadn't gone fishing, but we got to talking about how his dad and somebody else had gone fishing and all this and that. But you're preparing them for when Jesus is in the boat and they're not catching anything and then they caught a whole bunch when they obeyed Jesus. It's just to get their brains started. Just to pull them into the classroom, pull them into the lesson that you are going to be presenting. I wasted time in my suitcase for this whole thing.
Pass it around. No,
This is something I didn't know about until I had grandkids. These are water beads on the right side. Have you guys seen the water beads? Those are awesome. They didn't exist when my kids were little. For those of you who don't know what they are, they're like little hard beads, but you soak them in water and they plump up. And so I have used them for creation on day 2, and we worked in water beads, but he dug around and found a big fish in water. He's doing the same thing of course these are staged, he's wearing the same clothes, but they weren't the lessons we were doing that day, but he's digging around in the rice bin. You can look online how to tint your rice a different color than just white, although there's nothing wrong with white, but the green just looks more appealing. And he was digging out animals. So we're talking about either creation or Noah's Ark or whatever. And if you can have them pull out matching animals, you can do that. And that just gets them thinking about what's coming up. And it can, it can be something like this, that is just out in the classroom when they walk in. If I have this sitting on the table, this, and maybe the lion, and I usually have like some dumbbells, some hand weights that aren't very heavy, or a big landscape rock, you know, that they're picking up heavy things, and they're just looking at all this. This is my Samson hair. This is a ball cap. You just cut off the bill. This is just yarn, regular, well, not regular yarn, but yarn that you can get in the yarn department. Hobby Lobby, it was crazy expensive, and I thought, sorry, I cannot make Samson's hair with that expensive stuff. But Joann, do you guys have Joann fabrics down here? No, bummer.
It's about an hour away.
Anyway, look around. Don't ever, if it's out of price range, don't use it, because that's silly to spend that kind of money. But they love putting on the wig. It was a lot cheaper at Joann's, and now you can't use coupons at Hobby Lobby, but you can. Joann's has them. So it was very reasonable. I was quite excited I could do Samson hair. But that just, when something's sitting there, that's the first thing they see, and it draws them into the classroom. How many of you have had a little child who didn't want to come into the classroom, they wanted to clean to mom and dad? If you have something like that, it pulls them in, and they get excited about what's coming up. So, things you can do to draw them into the classroom.
It's definitely needed at that age.
You work?
That's solid. God, I believe you're here for 2 years.
Okay, to explain terms and concepts, it's 50 minutes. Guys, we've been going 50 minutes. Does anybody need a stretch break?
I gotta back.
Is it okay if we keep going on since you're doing?
Oh, absolutely. Go ahead. Yes.
So to explain new terms and concepts. So how do you explain miracle? I mean, that's not something they're going to get to know. They don't know what magic is, quite honestly. But I made the magic hat. That's just foam core board with a poster board around. And then you put some kind of a foam something up here that is dark, and you turn it and you go, the hat is empty, because that's all they see is the black. And then you go, abracadabra, and pull out the bunny. And you go, that's a tricky trick. That was just tricky tricks. You saw how I did that, didn't you? But you know what a miracle is? It's God's power. God's power that does things that are impossible. You can't do it otherwise. So then you talk about Elisha's miracles. You talk about how he made the yucky water good, and they could drink it. And you don't have to go into great detail about anything. You can do the jars of oil, and you can do the little boy who was dead, gotta have his eyes closed. So he's dead, and then he was raised, and you flip him over. This was also their take home. So they got to do that. If you have removable parts, always make a pocket.
You're going to turn the water into wine.
Kool-Aid, yes. Yes. That is, yes, and I have a jar that is a heart, and I have, if you mix a bunch of different colors of Kool-Aid, it turns kind of blackish, and then you take some bleach, pour it in, and it turns it back into clear, so then you have a clear heart. So, I love those kinds of things. those things are amazing and they love and get the information that you're trying to give to them. Let's see. Oh, I never did find my leprosy. I know I got here with it. Let's see if I can find it. I don't know where my leprosy is. It's in a little bag, Kath, that
I don't remember seeing that.
no, you probably didn't. Anyway, you know those little dot stickers? So what I do is put them on my arm, put those little dot stickers on my arm, and then I talk about these poor men that had boo-boos, and they're so sad and awful. And you know what? They had to stay away from their friends and family because, and you take those dots, if they get too close, it spreads. It spreads. So they get that. I mean, they've lived through COVID probably in their youngest years. We understand it way more than they did in their lifetime. But that explains how your disease can go to somebody else. I wish I had my leprosy stickers. They're somewhere. Evil spirit. So I get the joy of explaining how Saul had an evil spirit. And what I do is, well, first of all, they know he throws his spirit at David to try to kill David. So they always think this is his evil spirit. And it is not. His evil spirit, it is when King Saul disobeyed God, he made the altar, right? And the people were running away and hiding. Do you hear that? That's inside King Saul. It's a hard, awful thing. And then he was jealous of David. That's inside. That made him mean and ugly. It was ugly because he had hard, ugly feelings inside him. Then you've got David, who take squishy things. David loved God, and he wanted to do what God said. He has a soft, nice inside. And then you just go on. He played the harp for King Saul to make King Saul feel good. He's got such a soft, happy inside. He's so nice. So that's kind of how I try to explain King Saul's evilness and how ugly he was on the inside. And you just shake it up and they can hear the difference, that hard ugliness and that soft kindness. They say a picture paints 1,000 words. I don't usually use one picture, but if you run across a picture that says what you need it to say, I can't find it. Oh, maybe, no. I have a jealousy picture. If I run across it, I'll show you. It's hard to explain jealousy, but I have a really, actually, I think, here I told you, it's going to be hard for me to keep up. There's my jealousy picture. You think he's happy that she's got a lollipop? He's not happy about it. He wants that lollipop. He's not happy that she is enjoying it. He wants it for himself. So that's how I explain jealousy. So if you find a really great picture, laminate it, keep it, and use it. They're harder to find, I think. I don't get magazines or anything anymore. So we want the word to come to life. That's my Goliath. I apologize for the old picture. My Goliath is in the process of being remade because he's got. But can you imagine how that Goliath is 9 feet 9 inches tall, and that definitely brings it down to a kid's life. But then they also get to, do you know what's in my shepherd's bag? How many stones? 5 stones and a slingshot. I do not let them throw stones or use the slingshot. shot because we talk about it killed Goliath. We don't want to do that. But we use ping pong balls because that's not going to hurt anybody. And then they all get to take their chances to hit him in the forehead. And there are ping pong balls everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's a fun thing. And that really helps them bring it to life. I always point out that sword is a plastic sword. That is the favorite part of Goliath for little boys, of course.
Placed in an auditorium where it's not you.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So they can visualize how tall that is.
Yeah, toward the front.
Yeah. This guy is too skinny for one, but he's also falling apart. That's why I'm redoing it. So, it doesn't have to be a picture. It doesn't have to be a thing. It could actually be an activity. So if I'm talking about the good leaders, they led the people, and I dress appropriately for that day. I'm not going to wear a dress or anything that might fall forward. I'll put on pants or what have you. We'll crawl, we'll skip, we'll twirl, and they'll follow the leader around, and we land in a good spot where I have some kind of treat at the end. Something good happens if you follow the right leaders. But if you follow the wrong leaders, we all run into a wall eventually. Well, that's not good. But when the people followed the wrong kings, they ended up in a bad spot. So that just helps them to visualize or see what happens when we're talking about good and bad leaders. You guys need a stretch break? You doing okay? All right. So now we're going to talk about Bible lesson. These are tried and true for all you good teachers who have been in for a while. There are some things that we can do that don't require a lot of effort. We can do the lesson very nicely. This is something I had never done until a young teacher came in and she said, "Oh, I just use the book," and we go through that. Well, you've already studied well enough that you know if it's scriptural. So you can either read it or you know it well enough you can look at the paper, get the picture, and tell the lesson. I rarely read any kind of narrative, but I will tell the lesson and it works perfectly fine. Easy. I didn't have to prepare anything. There's all kinds of picture books. This is one of my favorites. I just enlarged a copy of that. But there's all kinds of Bible storybooks for kiddos. This is Concordia Publishing House. My first Bible storybook, but look at the pictures. This is Joseph in prison. And then he's telling the... So these are really great pictures. I like that a lot. None of them have probably all the lessons that you're going to tell. But if you get a combo of these, you probably could teach all your lessons out of something like that. Get these, I can read, of course your kids can't. Of course, that's not the point, but look at the pictures. And these are not very expensive books. Oh, I thought it still had the price tag. It doesn't, but they're not very expensive.
$2.95
Yeah.
or $3.95.
Yeah, very reasonable, but really nice pictures. There he is with his pig. So, again, it's just a matter of getting the book, but not a lot of effort to come up with teaching out of that. You can always buy 2 books and make yourself a flip chart. Flip charts have been around longer than I have. The thing I like about flip charts, of course, is the wash sheet. But I made it cute on the outside. It's got fuzz and that kind of thing. But what I like best is that I don't have to go through all the lesson. I can take out, with my little rings, I can take out pictures, still have the lesson that I want, and the narrative goes through. I don't have to read everything. And then it can be a much shorter lesson. Keep their attention span in mind. Flannel shirts. Oh, I was gonna show you. This group of books, is everybody aware of them? I just learned about them. So I was at a workshop in Texas. I was in the class and I ordered them on Amazon, and at the time, some of them are used, at least a couple of them, just used, and they work perfectly good. Well, it's read aloud Bible stories.
Lisa, I have them. Do you want me to go get them? So I'm showing.
You can if you want,
Do you want to see them?
I'll get the information.
or you can do it at the end.
Okay. I'll get 'em.
Okay,
I'll show you.
yeah, so if you Google them, it will take you to where you can order them. That's what I did while I was sitting in class, and I'm not technologically very smart, so. If I found them, you can find them. But that's a tried and true way to do it. Just use books with love. Now, at that same workshop, she said, flannel graphs are in. And she said, drag them out.
Drag 'em back out
And
from the
they're back in.
80s.
I'm like, never really went out in my book. But I will say, I'm picky about my flannel graphs. This is Betty Lupin's beautiful, beautiful. You can see that back here up in the tree. And this is,
I recognize that that's Bible's storybook. I didn't realize they had a flannel.
those are the same characters you'll find in this book. They're not as many lessons. There's a good number of them, and they're very basic lessons. They're all the lessons you teach your little ones at some point. But those are the little folk visuals. The nice thing about these kind is you can wash them. They don't fade. Your kids can handle them and retell the stories. They love it. That's, of course, older preschoolers. Then, again, freebibleimages.org. I just bring my laptop. I've downloaded their PowerPoint. You can take out slides if you don't want it to be so long. I know the narrative, and I mean, they supply you with a narrative if you want, but preschool, we know the lessons well enough. We can basically talk off the top of our head. But they just sit around me, so I don't need a projector. I don't need a big TV screen. I can just do that. So here's the thing. We have those tried and true ways that we can just go into a Bible class and we can concentrate then on our take-homes. We can concentrate on other things and spend our energy there and didn't have to do a lot for the lesson. That's great. We taught the lesson, it's great. And we can do that all the time if we wish. But I liken it to my cooking. I actually know how to cook. Since it's just the two of us, I tend not to love cooking anymore. It's like, I gotta do dinner again. And I have all these recipes I can do, but I do about 7, and we just rotate. Every time I've ever said that, everybody does the same thing, so you're making me feel like I'm not abnormal. But once in a while, I'll throw in a new recipe or something I haven't made in a long time, and my husband will go, oh, what is it? And he gets excited. If we can spice things up every so often, and I will say, you're not going to want to do it every class period because you're going to burn out. But if you can just convince yourself, maybe once a month, I'm going to do something special. I'm going to start working on something right now. That's the spicing up I'm talking about. So, if you're spicing up just the book that we've been talking about, look at this book. This is very cool.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, it's a big impression, and they're beautiful illustrations. There's 5 here, and then I own another book or 2 like this that have another 5 books. So, I don't know, there must be 15. It's Concordia Publishing House. But I love it. I love the big Bible. There's a big impression from that. And still not a lot of effort. If I'm doing Daniel, this has really great. This is just a happy day book, and I love the pictures and the illustrations in it. So what I did was I did my lion, the whole big lion on a poster board, and then I traced puzzle pieces, and then I took the pictures. So as I was telling the story, I took the pictures and placed them like this on this is a frame. It's a plastic frame. I don't know what it is supposed to have in it, but it comes with a box inside the frame. So you're supposed to put picture over the box or what have you.
Shadow box?
It's kind of like a shadow box. It's very thin. It's just mostly plastic. You could use a plain piece of plastic. And so I put the pieces in order, and then at the end, I turn it around, and that's my lion. So that's the big surprise at the end. That's a big impression again. The kids love that. Here's my 5 loaves and 2 fishes. We were talking about this. Mine are not like you all ladies were talking about. Apparently at Dollar Tree they had the loaves, yes. But anyway, here's my 5 loaves and 2 fishes. So I've got it was a really heavy story, so I just pulled a couple of pages. So here's my flip chart, but here's the fun part. So at the end, Jesus took the 5 loaves and 2 fishes, and then he he multiplied them. God is so powerful. So that's a big impression too.
Right. So
Can I just buy that from you?
she told me doesn't sell them.
That's what I'm
Can we have an auction?
If you're doing flannel graphs, if you've got old flannel graphs, and they're not the really pretty colored ones, and they're curly and they're torn, laminate them, and that will freshen them up. If they're really bad, pitch them, because don't use secondhand garbage to be teaching your kids. But laminate it. So this, but you can do something with it. So this is Jeremiah, and we got Jeremiah that goes in the dungeon, and we talk about prophets and how it's God speaking through them. So he goes in the dungeon, gets in trouble for saying, if God gives you a visual aid, make sure you're using that with your kids. So Jeremiah has a pot, right? And he shatters the pot. I was going to buy a little pot down here, and I thought, no, I can tell it. I don't have to buy it. I take a plastic bag and put one of those pots in there, make sure so it doesn't go spraying everywhere, and drop it, and it's a big impression. I mean, God picked the greatest visual aids. Make sure you're picking up on those in your lessons so that you can do what God has already done. But here's something else. That lesson is on prophets, and we just finally combined all of our prophets together because they say the same thing, right? Obey God or else. Only what you do is you obey God or else. So this was a horn thing. You push something and it squeaked out. I just kind of disassembled it. It was a Dollar Tree thing, but it makes a good noise. So this adds pizzazz to that. Kathy, where are we? Time-wise?
It's almost 15 minutes.
Okay. If you want to change up your flannel graphs, just change the location. The other thing is, on the other side, and you can see this was a used apron. It's got the stain still, but do pockets. Get pockets and have one side be pockets, then put your flannel on the other side, and you can flip around and you can pull items out of your pockets as you're telling the story. Things you buy. There are nowadays a whole lot of things you can get. This is Jesus and his 12 disciples. Oh, I think I have a picture of it. If I can find my clip right here. So, see him in front of those.
They're cute.
They have those
Really
on sale.
cute. I don't know if they ever go on sale. Where do you get those from?
Kelly said One Stone has
One
them.
Stone has some little finger
Oh, finger
things that you get, little men.
You can look these up online because other places sell them. We have Mardel's at home, which is owned by Hobby Lobby. But there's also BibleToys.com. However, I checked those. I don't think it is on your sheet because I checked it and everything was kind of unavailable. So I don't know if they're still up and running very well. But that's the 12 apostles and Jesus. You can always tell who Jesus is. Up there on the upper right, sitting on the box that the boat came in, I found the ark at a secondhand store. I mean, don't hesitate going to don't hesitate to go into a secondhand store and dig through because a lot of people are throwing things out. There it is. Christian bookstore has it.
There you go.
26 with the boat.
With the boat. I mean, the nursery classes. That's we love little,
They have free
little
shipping, right?
people.
Free shipping.
You can make your own flip charts. This is my Samson. And what was he never supposed to do? Never supposed to cut his hair. So his hair keeps growing.
Oh.
And then his muscles, what happens to them?
Look at that.
What happens to his muscles?
Your blah.
Oh my goodness.
His muscles grow too.
Beloved.
Yeah, he had to be really careful. We don't go into the whole Nazarite thing, but he had to be really careful what he ate and drank. And those muscles just kept growing and growing. He killed a lion with his bare hand. I mean, make your own flip charts. There's enough clip arts available that you can throw stuff together like that. So, I always tell people around Halloween, buy stuff. After Halloween, go and get the sale items. These are chains, so you can use it for all kinds of prison stuff and even Samson when he gets thrown in jail. And take pool noodles and go like this, make them as high as your table. Now you're going to need people to help you make this. But have your pool noodles go down and take duct tape and go across in 3 sections, up here, in the middle, and down. Everybody can get under the table and sing in prison. If you don't want to buy stuff, these kind of suffered in my suitcase. But this is just the insulation that goes around pipes, and you can make your own chains. Okay, so that's the buying stuff. Let me see what's next on mine. Oh, yeah, this is Moses. Moses is a toilet paper roll. This is Zacchaeus. You see him? So this is just a packing roll. This is duct tape that looks like wood, so you just do that. Pringles can, right? Yeah, and it's about that same size, isn't it? Yes. So you could also do the tree of good and evil. I'll show you. I'll show you my Eve. She looks a lot like Priscilla Presley. Her leaves come off.
Oh, nice.
But I'm gonna leave them on for present company. So this is Eve. I chose these dragon fruits because I found this at Dollar Tree, and it's so she gives part to Adam. Here's Adam. He's got his skins on. Here is which one's Jacob, which one's Esau. Of course, this is Esau with the red hair. Who is this?
Jesus.
Has to be. Doesn't he always dress the same?
Always.
Always dresses
Very
the
good,
same.
of course.
Here's another one. This is made out of a wood thing, and then a ping pong ball. He looks like Hagrid.
Like Hagrid.
He's Hagrid.
Oh,
Here's a soldier guarding the tomb. So, I mean, you can really do a lot. This is usually mounted to a box, and then I'm able to stick that up for Jesus's crucifixion. But it also can be for Lazarus that's so sick in bed, and then he dies, and we get to wrap him up and put him in the tomb. So he's in the tomb, and then let's see if I can do it out. Huh?
Have an actual hole and fix it in a box, you know?
Yes. This is usually attached to a box. I just didn't bring my box.
Yeah.
But it's attached, so it's easier to use. And then my stone rolls away, and Lazarus, who was dead, comes out. Let's see if I can do his arms. Well, if you do his arms, they go, hey, I'm alive.
I'm not back, no?
Yeah. So that's Lazarus. So clip art, you can find all kinds of things that would illustrate your lesson. This is Jacob's dream. So here he is on the road. Here's his rock that he sleeps on. And then he goes to bed at night on the rock. And then he dreams. And you see the angels go up and down. Sorry, guys. It's hard to do when I'm.
Do you want me to hold it for you?
No, I think. You want to see that?
Yeah, that was great.
See. So, and there's no buy-in. I'll warn you though, after I saw these toilet paper rolls somewhere, started collecting toilet paper rolls, and everybody started collecting toilet paper rolls for me, and I was overrun by paper rolls. But this is Moses. He's just a toilet paper roll, and then this is just a picture out of a book. I think it was out of this Little People's book. And then he's on a rock. So that's him on the mountain. Then these are water bottles. The people said, "We want a king. Give us a king." Did God think a king was a good thing? Did Samuel think a king was a good thing? No, what would the boys become? The boys would become soldiers. What would the girls become? Slaves. They become slaves. But the people still said, we want to have a king. What was going to happen to their land? It'd be taken away, right? Not a good idea. But then, God says, okay, we're going to pick a king. So we have our water bottles up here. Who did God pick? The tall guy, right? So he picked the tall guy. So I brought my tall guy with me. So we're going to put a robe on him. And we're going to put a crown on him. Oops. A crown on him. And they probably have to have jewelry, don't you think? Let's do it that way. So there's our king. And then, so what this is, and his face is painted on. I don't know if you can see, he's painted and he's painted. And then there's all kinds of hairy beards. This guy though, if you're not into paint, now this guy actually was permanent marker, it didn't do well. But the paint, if you're gonna do that, does really well. If you don't have any talent at all to put a face on, just have out a face. And so my Samuel, this is this is what it is. I love these bottles because they have a waist.
Yeah.
He doesn't have one. He's just a plain old bottle.
Well, he's a
I will
man,
say
so,
there's
you
a
know.
little bit of rice in there to stabilize him. Because if you get a few bottles out there, they're gonna tip. But here, all you do is take a sock, and who doesn't have some spare socks around the house? You're gonna take your sock, and you're gonna shove that part down in there, and keep poking it down. Whoops. Poke it down, and then take the outside and kind of pull it down over it. So there it is. Then you want to always put some kind of, I'm just going to put a rubber band for something for a belt. So there he is. So this is Samuel as a man or as an older kid. I don't see where he went. But there's 3 sizes.
Oh.
You got your little Samuel, and his mama brings him a coat. And then you got your older Samuel, and his mama brings him another coat. And so I use the same face, I just made it a little bit bigger, bigger. And then, oh, here it is. Here's his face. So I put that in there, and his mama brings him a coat. So having the different sizes, you're able to have children in your lessons. They love these bottles, though. It's funny how they think they have figured out quite the secret when they figure out it's just a water bottle over there. That is so exciting to them. You all are welcome to come up and look at these things later, but I'm going to put them down out of the way for a second. So this is something out of Danielle's place. I like her illustrations a lot. She has a membership page that costs like $25 for a whole year. So I planned to get everything off of her stuff for $25, but I've renewed. She has really good things. A little hard to, I think, to get around her page, but this is, can you tell what this lesson is?
The way 4 brothers or the 4 people were.
Yeah, Jesus is inside the house, right?
Oh,
And he's
lots of
teaching,
fireplace.
and those
Okay, I see the roof.
those
Yeah.
nice friends. But let me show you, this is what came off of the page. I mean, when I printed what she had, I just enlarged it. And this, you can't really tell from a distance. This is from Dollar Tree. It's a 3D rock thing. And when I showed this, Carla Moore, who she and her husband go to Israel all the time, she goes, there are those houses all over the place that look just like that, except it's whitewashed stone. I wasn't trying to be culturally correct because I don't think my kids care, but that was kind of fun. So they go up on the roof, and then they let their friend down. But Jesus was falling over. But they let their friend down through the roof. But if you're going to go to that much trouble to make anything, make sure you can use it for something else. You can use it for, there he is, he gets to go up, walk. So I could hide my spies under this. I could use it for the Dorcas, sure. I could put for the 10 plagues. I could just, these are doorposts, yeah. So I can put my blood on the doorpost. But anyhow, I really like her illustrations. Merit, yeah. Yeah, any house. There's all kinds of Bible houses and stuff. Lots of things. My paper. I am a mess, you guys. I'm just a mess. Let's see. You guys are doing that. Okay. This is how you know your husband loves you so much. You see, she's a 4-year-old. You see how tall this whale is? It's my big fish. IKEA. He went to IKEA and he bought me. And this is a little stuffed, I think he's Moses, maybe Noah. I don't know, but he's Jonah in this lesson. So, anyway, what's fun about this is his mouth, the mouth of the big fish is a zipper. You can open it up and you put him in there, and then when he spits him out, you go like this with the mouth, it shoots him across the room because of I guess it's just the material, the way the material goes, and it spits it out. It's fun. So they love it. And I mean, it's as tall as the kids are. She is one sweet little girl too. So tell your husband for his next romantic gift.
I need a big fish. That's what you got.
So I'm going to say, it doesn't matter if you're studying in the New Testament. Oh, let me show you this since we were back on Jonah. So here's my big fish, right? And Jonah goes into the big fish, and what does the big fish do to him?
Vomits him up.
Spits him out. Right? So that's obviously funny. It doesn't matter if you're studying out the New Testament or whatever part of the Bible you're studying out of. I think you should have something about creation too. Even if you're just singing songs about creation, because what's going to be challenged more in their life than creation? And I never thought I would say it, but what's going to be challenged more in their life that he made them male and female. So I always have something going for creation. These are my sensory models that I did last summer. We spent the whole summer on creation. And so you've got your day one, but it was all dark, and God said, let there be light. So the bottom is water, the top. This is canola oil. I bought it after I got here. Vegetable oil works better. It doesn't get as bubbly somehow. It's odd. But anyway, and then you can go, God is so powerful. God is so powerful. God is so powerful. He spoke and light appeared. So that, this is baby oil and then water, tinted water. Then I had to go to stickers on the outside. I had to get 2 jars for that. You can actually find directions for sensory bottles. I had to make up some of that. And some of it I had to just put stickers on because I didn't know how to get them otherwise to the stuff that God made on those days. You all have figured out there's 6 days of creation on a dice, so that's really easy to do. Here's the book we did last summer. So every day, this is hair gel. Down here, see, here's that same stuff. That's how I have that stuff. But those were a really fun thing to put together all summer. This is it's a cookie sheet. And you do your magnet board. So there's one thing on day 1, that's light. There is my sun should be over here. So the 3 things on day 3, 2 things on day 2. And that's something you can just have out and they can be working on that as they walk in the classroom. So it doesn't matter that you aren't studying creation. Here's some cheap bags, and you just put the numbers on it. And this bag right here just has items that they draw. Where would they put the sunshine? David. So all that stuff, and you just find little items to divvy out. Oh, if you're drawing them into the classroom, have a thing of cookies out. And for creation, you say, how did those cookies get there? And did in the middle of the night, did the flour just go together? And the eggs got thrown in and it was just swirling around, and when you woke up you had cookies? Somebody made those cookies. If we can see them, somebody made them. And so you're introducing the idea of things don't just happen by themselves, because that will be a concept that comes across at some point in your life. This is where I need to get my phone. So it'll be a second. This is what I do with that treasure box. When we were studying about the lost sheep, I turn off my phone like a good person so nobody would call me in the middle. And now I'm going to have to turn it on. This is an app that is an animal sounds app. So I had my phone in the treasure box. And I would go in and I'd touch something, if my phone will come up, and it will give the sound. And then, because we were talking about creation on day 6, they have all those animal sounds, and then they could identify the animals, and that we just basically talked about that. My husband asked me if I'm finished, and I am not. So, but here's one that I did have. I had this in the treasure box, so the kids couldn't see me pushing the phone. But if you can hear. What is it? What is it? So that, or you can have a donkey noise, or you can have pigs if you're studying about the prodigal son, whatever. Well, we were studying about the lost sheep. And my husband, I brought out the cutest little lamb, because they all guessed that it was a sheep, a little stuffed animal. But we kept him in there. And then my husband, this is a pillowcase. He came in with this on his head and the little band around it. There was nothing fancy. He was the shepherd. At some point he came in and he goes, has anybody seen that? I haven't found him, and he ran away. And all the kids are pointing us at treasure box. So that was very cute. It didn't take big drama. He didn't even wear a robe or anything. He just had this on his head. But I will say it's fun to do those. You could do ravens. If you're doing Elijah and the ravens, it's nice to have a little sound effect. So just look, there's all kinds of apps, different apps. This is just one I found that I thought, it's free. I didn't want to pay for anything, but there's all kinds of stuff that you can use for it. I'm getting there, guys, I'm getting there. Easy peasy, but it spices it up a little bit. Just put your characters on a stick. I have a box at home that is a very sturdy box, and I just have put slits so I can put these on there. But the kids love to tell the story back with these. So I guess that's more tried and true. I don't think that's too spicy, but it's a little different than just looking at a picture. Speaking of ravens, this is our raven that visits Elijah. This is just a sock, and this is just foam stuff with feathers and eyes and the foam beak. But then I ask questions. Well, actually, I have a piece of blue paper, so we're all sitting around the brook, and then the raven comes down. After King Solomon died, how many kingdoms were there? This is my 4-year-olds, it's not 2-year-olds. And, I ask questions. Well, they'll answer the question, and then I take a rich cracker or something, and then they get a cracker. I also have cups of water that are sitting in the brook, so they get to drink their water too. So that's a fun activity for them. I wasn't going to show you this, but I will. If you want to just, you can buy these head shapes. And of course, are these nice kings? You can tell no. But this good King Josiah, so he looks a lot more pleasant. But give your kids the emojis. Which guy? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs down. Also, like Haman, when I tell that story of Esther, whenever I say Haman, we get to say boo. So we talk about the good guys and the bad guys. Here is magnets are fun. So Jesus on a magnet and just a canning jar lid. Let the children come to me. Let the children come to me. And each of the kids hold their thing with their face on it, and it goes right to Jesus. Here's another one, Kathy. This is my Vanna White. She's going to help me with this. So when Samuel went to Jesse's house to find the new king, what was he looking for? He was looking for, yes, he wasn't looking at the outward appearance. Samuel was. But God was looking for somebody after his own heart. Was it that one? That wasn't it. And then you throw it in all of them, and eventually do you have another child? Yeah, he's out taking care of the sheep. We'll call him in. Was he the one? Was. Sorry. It really works. There it goes. So there he is. Okay. This is also Daniel's place. Aren't they fun illustrations? She really does do fun stuff. So, anyway, magnets can be used for a lot of things. If you're talking about Jacob and Esau, I don't understand how Jacob really tricked his dad, right? But he pulled that off the goat, put it on his hand, and then you could say that. But if you put tape on the glasses, they get the idea. You can see kind of cloudy vision, but you don't see who it really is when they've got these little cheap glasses with tape on them. Here's a warning. We were doing the lost coins and the lost sheep. I don't think I used it for the prodigal son. He was a lesson on his own. But we were partying. We were celebrating after they found them. And so we were going to do that. 2-year-olds cannot blow these things. Pre-test everything before class. Other kids would be able to do that easily. Have you guys seen the magic board thing? So we do the Belshazzar having the feast where everybody's in there and they're drinking and eating off of the treasures out of the temple. And then the handwriting on the wall. So then you take Can you tell what that is? Here. Or listen. What do we do with our ears? We listen. 2. And I assume you know what this next letter is. So then they got to see. And I have little gold plastic plates and cups, and we have a little party, and then they get to see the handwriting on the wall. And here's the fingers of a man's hand. So white glove. stuck on the stick with stuffing in. Okay, so we've gotten through introducing new concepts, we've gotten through basic teaching, we've gotten through spicing it up a little bit. That's the more that we've done. Application is important for any Bible learner, young and old. And but we just have to remember they haven't had a lot of their life to apply anything to. What does their world, consist of? It consists of home, mom and dad, siblings, some friends, perhaps daycare. Beyond that, maybe church friends. That's about as far as their life goes, right? So you're going to have to figure out what would apply to them. With Samson, you would never do God made your body special with an older kid, but with Samson, it's perfect. Where did you get your muscles, your muscles, your muscles? Where did you get your muscles? God gave them to you. So, this would apply. That's an application for them. They know they are made special in God's image. Let me show you this before I move on. I forgot about this. This is a fun thing to teach with. So if you're teaching, have kids, this is up high, but I would have them pull this. Can you pull number 1? What did the angel tell Noah and his wife? They were going to have and somebody else picks the number 2. They're going to have a baby. So you can do that all the way through. I'll show you my Samson. Samson is a strong man.
Yeah.
It pays to have boys that have action figures. And then kill the lion with his bare hands. So that doing the numbers and having them pull that's one of their favorites. It's also a great review. Don't wait till the end of the quarter to review. Just keep reviewing as you go along, but that's really a great review. So back to the application. We always want to talk about how the characters in the lesson affected God. That's mostly my application. So, pick a character. Does that make God, did their actions make God happy? Or did it make him sad? And God always loved them, right? Even when they disobeyed, he always loved them. But it made him sad that they did those things. So this is just a mitt from Dollar Tree, and then I did emojis on it. Emojis are big. On the technology's big. If you're doing a PowerPoint, let them advance to the next slide. Everybody gets their chance to advance. Just think about what's big in the world and include that in your class. Here's also, these were at Hobby Lobby in the party section, and they can hold on to it. Did it make God happy or sad? Any kind of book that has an application. Kids love to actually listen to a story, so that's a good thing. Make your own up. What does a little seed become? Becomes a big tree. What's a little snowflake become? Becomes a snowman. What's a little raindrop become? Flowers. And what does a little servant girl, what can she do? And she helped Naaman, right? So, make up your own stories. Do we live at your house? This is something I have done over and over again on FaceTime with my granddaughters. So, I actually have a cookie jar at home that is from back in the day, but I've hung on to it. It's actually a square little house, and the lid flips, and I've got a happy face on one side and a sad face on the other. But not everybody can do that. Oops. That's a different thing. Anyway, do we live at your house? Gritty green, tan, wait. Here's Greedy Green. Here is Rudy Red, Tan Tattle, Betty Blue, Yelling Yellow, Pouty Purple, Buddy and Brown, Pokey Pink, and Chris Christian. We just talked about. Again, I've got these things. If you want the narrative or you want pictures of it or whatever, I'll give you my email address. Oh, see my happy house. The happy house is the one that they always ask for. Let's see. Here's my happy house. So here's happy house. It's my happy house or sad house. And then there's just pictures that I copied out of books. Don't tell anyone because there may be copyright issues. But I'm not selling them to you. I'm just using them in my classroom. So we talk about the things that it doesn't make a happy house or a sad house. He's pulling his sister's hair. That's a sad house. So that's their home. Praying with Mama. That's a happy house. Mama's helper. So I have a apron somewhere in my room. Here's their report that they can take home and their moms can write on it and bring it back. And we talk about the things that they can do to help their mamas. So, and the kids are learning how to be helpful. Here is Joey. And Joey has a rule at his house. They have a candy bag at their house, but you can't have a candy until after lunch. Where's the candy bag? You know what? His sister had some friends over one day, and he walked in. They had all gotten into the candy bag before lunch. And his sister said, Joey, if you don't tell Mom, you can get a piece of candy too. Well, Joey looked around. He looked this way. And this way. And he looked around, and sure enough, his mom was outside hanging up clothes. And he could have done it. He stuck his hand in the candy bag, and he wanted it so bad. Who did he remember? His mama wouldn't see him, but who would see him? God would see him. God would know if he obeyed or not. So he decided not to, and then how does God feel? God is happy with it. This is a consequence. So I have a present. This is Kenny. I don't know why I had all boys, but Kenny was having a birthday come up, and he most of all wanted a puppy dog. And his mama said, you know what? There's a lot of responsibility with a puppy dog. If you get a puppy dog, you're going to have to feed him. And I have these things in the box, the items that they like. You're going to have to play with him and exercise him, take him for walks. These are all just clip arts. Maybe you can help Daddy build a house, but that's going to be hard work. You're going to have to give him baths. Well, one day, he did get. This is Curly, and I pulled Curly out of the box. He got Curly for his birthday. And he was so happy, and he did all those things for Curly. But the one rule was, you always have to make sure you lock the gate. One day, his friends were out playing. He heard them, and he wanted to go play, so he ran out. He came to the gate locked. And he went back to his backyard after a bit, and Curly was gone. And you just talk about his distress at night, and he couldn't really sleep, and he worried. He had gotten on his bike and rode all over the neighborhood, but he couldn't find Curly, and he was so worried. Did Curly run away for good? Did Curly get hit by a car? It was so awful. Well, then in the morning, a neighbor has called and found Curly and had Curly at her house until that next day. So it all turns out in the end, but there's consequences when we don't do the things that we need to. What time?
It's about 7 or 8 till.
Cool, we're getting there. So, this is Walter.
There's a few things that Is this what you need?
This is I don't want Walter. So, whenever his mama would ask him, Walter, can you take out the trash? I don't wanna. Walter, will you pick up your toys? I don't wanna. Walter, make sure you hang up your clothes. I don't wanna. Walter, will you feed the dog? I don't wanna. Jonah didn't wanna either, did he? Jonah didn't wanna go to Nineveh. Did that get him into a good place? He landed in big trouble until he decided he was going to obey God. The funnest part about being with little people is the stuff they say, right? We know secrets about families and family hope we don't ever hear. One day a girlfriend of mine, I'd had her little boy in class and she goes, I just have to tell you this. And it was after a Jonah lesson. And so she was going over the lesson and she said, what was Jonah doing in that big fish? And he goes, he was peeing. I said, well, he probably was, but we didn't talk about it. If you're in there 3 days, I'm pretty sure that probably happened at some point. So we mostly talked about Bible lesson stuff and how to present that, because I think that's the most important thing to get across. But you're going to throw in singing, and you're going to throw in, always have a prayer. And ask them what they want to pray for. And if the little boys want to pray, let them help you with the prayer or let them say the prayer, depending on what level you're at. It's so important. But they need to know we love God. They need to know we love them. And that being in class with them is the place that we want to be. That's our happy place. We're doing it because we love them. You're going to do handwork. Always have something for them to work on. I have most of it prepared, put together so that there's just a very little bit to put together, because there's a lot of time involved in that and there's not a lot of give to get on it. You want them to be able to take something home for the parents to talk about it with them, but you don't want to waste a lot of time in class on that. So, any questions on anything?
I just want to ask, in your lessons, like you have like for a year, you have it, oh, this is Sunday, this is, a lesson plan or something?
I do have lesson plans for all my lessons, but I didn't bring you're asking about curriculum or?
I just want to know if you're repeating like that.
Yes, usually Sunday morning and Wednesday night would be the same day. We just repeat, we have more time to expound. Usually it's more of a lot of application more on Wednesday evening. But with repetition, that's what it's about to get it into their little noggins. So we always do that, and I'll review lessons from before. And I just break it up with song and some other activity in between. So they aren't sitting there for 2 hours like you guys have so graciously done for me today. But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question. Let me give you my email. If there's something that you wanted specifically from me, it's LISARIP, and then the number 10 at gmail.com, obviously. So if you want to have anything. We're pretty good on time, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have. It's a oh yeah.
the workshop.
Yeah.
In there somewhere. Thank you.
Yeah, and the World Video Bible School guy is gone today, but it's not hard to find those online.
Oh, one more thing, in your class, like for example, singing, are you giving like a break, like, crackers or something, like every Sunday?
No, I mean, if we have snacks in my class, it really is special and it belongs with the lesson. Like manna, I'll do oyster crackers on a sheet on the ground, and then get black puffy balls. I mean, they don't eat the ravens, but, or the little, whatever the birds are. What were the birds?
Quail.
Quail, right. They don't eat the quail, but they get to eat the oyster crackers. For the, Belshazzar and the writing on the wall, we do the party. There's a number of times we do snacks. On Wednesday night, it's more likely we'll do a snack, but I always ask the parents if they're okay with it. Yeah. And a lot of times they'll go, "Up to you, you're the one that has to put up with it." And did everybody else get the resource sheet for the website? The Facebook things are good, and there's more and more Christian Bible teacher Facebook things that I come across, and they have some great ideas. So, okay, guys, thank you for your encouragement, and we made it through 2 hours. You guys did awesome.
Yes.